Hello, it's good to be back with you. Welcome to the programme here on Sheffield Live TV of a Thursday night. As you'll have perhaps seen on social media, a former Sheffield United player from the Dave Bassett days is my guest this evening. I was going to say special guest. He's actually the only guest. He's actually got a story that will fill the entire show, I do assure you of that. He's Charlie Hartfield, former Blades midfielder. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, mate.
Charlie, who you will know as a Blades player, played between 1991 and 1997 at the Lane, some 67 appearances, including some of those in the Premier League. And you'll know also that this show is mostly pretty relaxed and jokey, which it can be tonight, but it can also be serious, and it has to be this evening, but also hopefully educational, in particular educational to young people. And I know that's the specific purpose for Charlie's visit here tonight, apart from to say hello to me, and
yes,
we did speak back in the day. Now, you're here on a mission to help others as well as yourself. It's a matter of record that in February 2015, Charlie was sentenced to 9 years in prison for drug trafficking. He served half that sentence, was released 17 months ago in March of 2018, 17 months ago, Charlie. He's since been getting his life back together, I'm very, very happy to say, including breaking the shackles of a gambling addiction that he believes was at the root of that decline in his life. Now, Charlie has a story to tell, but I must stress that he's receiving absolutely nothing for appearing here. He's appearing at his own expense. He's travelled up from his home in the London area, and the only ones really to benefit, we hope, are those Blades fans remembering back in the day, which we'll come to later in the show, and the people that you can help with your story. And I know that that is a big driving force in your life now, Charlie.
Yeah, it's important to me. You know, where gambling took me, you know, and ending up in jail. It's an horrific story, and it's what gambling did to me as a person. You know, it just changed me completely as a person, turned me inside out. I didn't live a normal life, and I didn't care about anything. That's what it done to me.
Now you are living a normal life,
yes.
We hope,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm 9 years clean of gambling, and it's been hard. It's, you know, but when you go to Gamblers Anonymous, when I first went in September 2010, nobody tells you it's not just about stopping gambling. You have to learn about that as you go along, because it's not just about stopping gambling. Yes, that's the main bit of it, but then it becomes about a change in yourself. Because my head, I weren't Charlie. I was this other person, and I weren't a nice person. It was an horrible person. I was making terrible decisions. You know, it affected my family. I hurt my friends. You know, good friends around me, borrowing money. You know, just doing horrible, horrible things. But it was, I've got to be honest, without making excuses, because I never make excuses, it was out of my control. I was like a freight train. I was like a freight train, and I didn't know how to put the brakes on. And as I said to you, I didn't care about too many things outside gambling.
We'll come to what started you gambling, and in fact, you did tell me earlier you started gambling at the age of 10.
Yeah, I think so. Penny up the wall at school. And, you know, as I said to you earlier, Al, that's when I feel I got the buzz. You know, I'm not sure when the compulsiveness come in, maybe when I started earning a bit more money, you know, because I was only a kid then. But, you know, the buzz, once you get the buzz, that's it. Once this gambling gets hold of you, it took hold of me and flipped me upside down, I can tell you that.
We'll talk about the bit between your playing career and now. And it's a happy story now, and it was a happy story at the beginning of your playing career as well, especially your Bramall Lane days. Let's have a quick look back, quick look at the Charlie Williamson that a lot of you will know. Blades fans watching this every week. There's a picture. Hey, by the way, Ward's Brewery was excellent. That beer was fantastic. There you are, a bit younger. I think
a bit slimmer as well.
Yeah, when you first came to Sheffield United, 1991, 2, something like that.
Yeah.
And there you are as well at a very young age, and you enjoyed some really, really great days.
It's a fantastic club.
Yeah.
You know, Sheffield United and the people surrounding this place is unbelievable. It's an amazing place. But people, you know, they're fantastic days, but there was a lot of pain going on underneath what I was hiding, you know.
We'll come to that pain that you were hiding in a moment, but after we brought it right up to date with a very recent family snapshot.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
and
good family,
let's have a look at this. There's your lovely wife and young son.
And little Teddy, Sasha and Teddy, yeah. And I've got the eldest one. He's not in this picture, Callum. He's actually from Sheffield, so yeah, it's a good picture.
It's a lovely picture, and you run a business in London.
It's not my business. I work for a cleaning company. Believe it or not, it's the only job I've ever had since retiring from football back in 2000.
And how would you describe your life right now?
It's settled. I've made a lot of changes since I come out of prison, and I had to make a lot of changes. You know, it was weird coming out of prison because you full of anxiety. I was full of fear. You know, weren't sure. You know, I was very confidence was shot to bits really, and it took a bit of time getting used to everything. You know,
anxiety and fear coming out. How does it compare to the feeling of going in?
Well, that's a sad day that was, Al, because it was, do you know what, it was like, when I got arrested, can you believe, I can sit here and honestly say, it was like a relief. It was like something was finally happening. You know, I was ready for it. It was like, because I knew I wasn't living my life right, and I was on the wrong path, it was like a relief when it happened. Although I was absolutely devastated, gutted, upset, annoyed with myself, because who wants that? You know, I got arrested for drugs. I don't know about drugs, but I was involved, and I got arrested rightly so. You know, and it was a bad time.
But a relief in the sense that it was able to change?
Because it was over, because I knew that then I had to do something. You know, as I said to you, I didn't change. When I stopped gambling 9 years ago, I stopped gambling, but I didn't change my mindset. You know, they're called character defects. And that's one thing I didn't look at. You know, I just concentrated on the stopping gambling side. So I was still living my life as a gamble, really, because I gambled with my liberty, because I was desperate to get money. It was a bit like when I was gambling, I was desperate to get money, and not like going to work like everybody else goes to work and works hard for it. I went and got money, tried to get money, the criminality way, the wrong way, totally wrong way.
You said that it was bubbling underneath at the time of the photographs that we showed of you in a Sheffield United shirt. And by the way, in part two especially, we will look at happy times.
Yeah,
the happy times you had at Bramall Lane, and the happy times that you're following now of your former teammate at that time, Chris Wilder, at Sheffield United now. But before we do that, I mean, there's just so much to look at here in terms of the advice that you give on the road to the sporting people at Sporting Chance Clinic, your relationship with Tony Adams, and that feeling that was under the surface at the very start of your career when you come to Bramall Lane from Arsenal. Yeah,
as I say, I've been gambling for a long time, you know, and that gamblers find it quite easy to hide things. It's quite easy for a gambler because it's not visible. You know, with other addictions, you can physically see it. With gambling, you can keep it bubbling away, And I was putting myself in a lot of problems, you know, and a lot of pain, really. I was hurting a lot of people surrounding me.
You mean you were losing money?
Losing fortunes of money. But it weren't the money so much, Al. It was the hurt I was causing towards people, you know.
Family, friends, bailing you out, presumably.
Always bailing me out, and me lying to friends just to obtain money off of them.
Were people at the club aware?
I think the club became aware. I became a liability at the club, really, because I was always borrowing money off the club, bouncing checks at the club. This is where it took me, you know. This is what I needed to go and gamble.
And that was more important to you than your playing career and anything else in your life.
It was, you know. Even when I was in the team, I'd always be in a betting shop before we had to be at the ground. I always had to get my bets on. You know, even sometimes at half time, I'd be finding out who's won an horse, what horse race has won, what results are coming. You know, my head. I'm surprised I got through as far as I did, if I'm totally honest. You know, up until my injury.
What were you betting on specifically, or was it anything?
Everything. I was compulsive. I just gambled on everything.
So it wasn't just football.
It wasn't just football. It was horses, dogs, anything I'd gamble on. An opportunity to gamble on, I'd gamble on.
How did you get started? What was the kick you got out of it? And
I don't know how I got started. I started at a very young age at school, and it just escalated. You know, as I got to these clubs and the money went up and things like that, gambling just took control.
Yeah.
And how did I get out of it? You know, circumstances happened. I went and done a nice few quid in the betting shop one day. I think it was my girlfriend left me. I was sitting at home. I was riddled with debt everywhere. And I remember the day because it was, I just shut all the windows, shut the blinds, cried for about, I cried for about 24 hours. And then I just woke up, you know, the next day I just remember saying, right, I've got to get myself to GA. Because I tried to stop about 6 years before. You know, I went into sporting chance, but then I just gradually got back into it. But you know, when I woke up this next day, it was just like a light bulb moment. I just thought, and once I got the GA in Sheffield on a Sunday evening, it was like that was it. It was just madness. I felt it. You know, I just kept going back to GA, Gamblers Anonymous, and I felt it. I felt that this was the time that I had to stop.
But you still go, don't you?
I still go every Monday. Yeah, right. I see a therapist on a Friday, and yeah, I get a lot of support from a lot. I'm very lucky.
Is it? I mean, it's different from, say, alcoholism, but once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. The tag never gets removed because that person still wants a drink.
I don't want to come away from that tag, Al.
Yeah.
I'll always be a compulsive gambler. I'm just I'm in recovery.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as it stays there.
Every day is a challenge in that.
It's not a challenge. I just deal with every day as it comes. Yeah. You know, like today I say to myself this morning, I will not gamble today. Tomorrow I'll do the same thing. And that's how I'll get through it.
Mm. And to what extent did that impact on your playing career? I mean, Blades fans will remember you as a very committed, hard, let's say, midfield player, very enthusiastic. You played some games in the top flight.
Yeah.
How much did this impact on, and how much of a regret is it?
Do you know when it impacted on me most of all? Because if you look at my career, I normally only got back into the team round about just before Christmas, or because you know when we finished for the break, the summer break, I'd either go out on the drink, gambling. I wouldn't look after myself,
right.
So I'd come back overweight, unfit. So it was very hard for me. Apart from good players, you got to get in front of. Johnny Gannon was in my position. He was a great player, so I had to fight with Johnny Gannon to get in front of him. But I didn't do myself any favours because I spent the whole summer gambling, drinking and eating.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a missed opportunity, your career in terms of what it could have been.
It's devastating. Right. Yeah. It is a missed opportunity. But, you know, I've got to look forward instead of looking back. And I do often look back and think, what if? But, you know, I've got to keep trying looking forward.
Does talking about it help?
Yeah, I love talking about it. You know, I talk about my addiction. I try and help people on a daily basis because it just helps push the gambling that little bit further away every time I talk to someone about it, you know? And that's exactly where I want it. The further away, the better.
And I know that you're on a mission to help others, to advise others, to see young players. You were at Southampton, weren't you?
Yeah, I was at Southampton yesterday doing a talk.
Right.
You know, I just don't want kids or anyone, not just kids, anyone. You know, I don't want kids to be turned in, throw their career away like I did. You know, it's an absolute waste, as if life ain't hard enough. But to put, you know, some of them will get a great chance at doing what they do. and to have other things on their mind, like gambling or any other addiction, really.
I know that you're in contact quite a bit with Tony Adams. I mean, his history is well known. Yours less so, obviously, because of the statue, the statue that he had as a player with your former club, Arsenal. So, what events have you got coming up and that you're going to?
I'll wait for Tony's man to send me some fixtures of where they want me to cover, and we go from there, really.
Yeah, I mean, your time, James Craig will be on the show with us in part 2. He's going to round up the sporting scene, and we'll also take you back in your career, happier times and happy times at the moment. I was going to say your time in prison. I mean, you went to Wandsworth, which is a fairly notorious
it's horrific.
jail.
Yeah, it's horrific. It's not, I don't want to be in prison anyway, but, I deserve to go there, and rightly so. But yeah, they're not nice places, mate. Yeah, the things you see, the things that you hear every night.
And you did your time, and
in
fact, you were moved on to other prisons progressively.
Yeah.
A better environment because.
I wouldn't say they got easier, more intense. Less more of a border cooker.
And drug trafficking it was that you were jailed for and you served your time for. Was the gambling addiction at the root of that, do you feel?
Well, the gambling addiction led on to that. The gambling, as I said to you, it didn't change. I didn't change my mindset from gambling. So even though I was telling everyone that I'd stop gambling, I was still looking ways to duck and dive to get money.
Yeah.
So I didn't change that mindset. So that's when the opportunity came in for me to fall into this. It became easy for me because it was that same feeling as of having a bet, if you understand what I mean. It's a mad thing to try and get, but it's that same feeling of having a bet. It was an easy solution to because I didn't have the confidence to go and get a job. I did, I left school early. Not that it's an excuse. It's not an excuse. This gambling stripped me of confidence. It stripped me of a lot of things, and I didn't want to go and get a job. Probably.
The culture around football then and the culture around football now, how different is it, do you feel?
Well, I went to the club yesterday. The kids have got everything,
Yeah.
The culture, it's massive difference now. The clubs probably look after the kids back then. And, if we can get any message out to these kids, they deserve it because, it's...
And yet they're surrounded with a greater encouragement to bet than kids were in your day because of the constant advertising.
Yeah, the advertising's off the Richter scale.
The online stuff.
It's off the Richter scale at the moment.
Is that bad?
Well, for me who's been off of it, I don't pay much attention to it, I've got to be honest. Anything to do with gambling when it comes up now, it don't register with me, so it don't really bother me. But I can see, people who are trying to fight to get off of gambling or who are fighting the problem. I could see it's a massive problem, yeah.
Yeah, and it's one that I think football and other sports are becoming increasingly aware of if they rely on betting and gambling companies. Just a lighter way to finish part 1. What odds are you giving on Sheffield United staying up?
We'll stay up. I won't give you no odds, but we'll definitely stay up.
Yeah?
1,000,000%.
I know that from your home, you follow the Blades with
yeah, I go to all the London games.
You're Chelsea?
I went to Chelsea. What an atmosphere. It was unbelievable. Just being in and amongst the Blades again was fantastic.
Yeah, 2-goal fight back in the second half.
It was blinding, unbelievable.
Yeah, and then the Liverpool game, which you and many millions would have been able to follow on TV, which was quite agonising.
It was funny
really.
because I was sitting, I went and sat in a pub down in Chislehurst where I live. Yeah. And I tweeted that I'm sat in a pub surrounded by, and I'm cheering on Sheffield United. And somebody else, a Bromley Blade, come on, which is only around the corner from Chislehurst, and I'm doing the same thing. So it was quite funny.
I was born in Bromley. Anyway, that's by the by. That's part 1, and thanks so much for your honesty. I hope that's helped a few people. We will touch on it in part 2, but essentially we're going to have a happier part 2, talking about the Blades then and the Blades now. Take a break, 5 minutes. Do hope you rejoin us. See you then.